26 Troubled Moments. I heard that you have played against the Indian Su-30. After a few laps at low altitude, the Su-30 is very powerful. If it weren't for that plane being full of R-27s, its fighting ability must be stronger. There is no chance to shoot it down. Of course there is a chance at close range, if there are helmet sights or photoelectric radar or something, plus some effective tactics, there will be a chance. But the current lightning is not so perfect. The colonel said, seems to have some dissatisfaction with the low lightning air-to-air electronics configuration. Song Ning knew very well that the 26th Squadron was equipped with the first batch of Raiden fighter jets assembled by Pakistan, and used a reduced version of the legal avionics. The Air Force imagined Raiden as a cheap ground attack aircraft, so they didn't want to waste it. Too much money to install the necessary air combat equipment, and the aircraft is currently unable to hit either long-range air targets or ground targets with precision-guided weapons. I believe there will be medium-range ammunition, and there may be optical radar or something. Song Ning comforted, he knew that due to compatibility issues after modification, Raiden could not use Chinese-made medium-range ammunition for the time being. Lift-off operations generally only bring fighting bombs and ordinary bombs. The J-10 you brought is a good aircraft. I have flown the A-type before, and it doesn't have a phased array radar. It can probably be tied with the F-16C. Forget it, these two aircraft are giving me a headache now. A walkie-talkie in Song Ning's waist rang. He picked up the walkie-talkie and prepared to speak. Colonel Sammy, who was standing beside him, didn't want to leave. He seemed to have something to say. Boss, a new domestic order has arrived, asking you to immediately drive the unarmed J-10B aircraft to Peshawar and hand it over to the Pakistani 37th Tactical Training Wing. All the delegation will be evacuated to the Northern Air Force Command to receive further order. Xiang Ziyi, the delegation's correspondent, said that after the war started in the early morning, he had been on the delegation's special plane waiting for new domestic orders for more than 10 hours. Did you mention when you will return to China? Song Ning asked loudly. He knew that Sammy could not understand Chinese, so he was not afraid of him overhearing. No, the superior wants us to continue to stay in the front line to collect information about the battle. Okay, you ask Lao Zhou to contact the Pakistani command post immediately to arrange the takeoff time, so that Zhao Lin feels tight and gathers people to prepare for takeoff and refuel. Also, all the missiles on the wings must be unloaded. We can't take the missiles to fly in the war zone, but put them in the transport plane and take them away. I'll be right here. Understood. Song Ning turned off the call switch. Turned to look at Colonel Sammy. Colonel, don't go around this detour. I know what you're thinking. I can't let you test the flight today. We're going to transfer to Peshawar soon, and the plane will be handed over to the 37th Wing. However, according to our two countries, we can test flight at any time. Colonel, it's the war stage, and both planes are still spraying the logo of the PLA Air Force. I can't take this risk to let you fly such planes into the air, and something went wrong. It's a political issue, and I'm going to a military court. Then what are you going to do? Let the 37th Wing take over the new aircraft originally given to our wing. I don't know, you can ask your superior. Song Ning left Tukpo and walked towards the airport, leaving Colonel Sammy behind. The colonel was a difficult character, and Song Ning didn't want to ignore him. You can't do this. The 37th Wing is only a training wing. They usually fly the J-7P. They can't use advanced aircraft to fight. Why don't you keep these words to your Air Force staff? It must be your government's intention to have the 37th take over the aircraft. I have to make sure that my mission is done accurately. I know what you mean, but... The colonel's words were interrupted by a sharp air raid siren, which was then heard in the distance. There was a low roar of the engine, and the two immediately stood still and carefully distinguished the type of air strike. After a while, I vaguely heard a whistling sound coming from the clouds. Colonel, what's that sound? It's not the sound of an Indian Air Force plane, it's some kind of ramjet, drone, or... The sound could be heard now and the altitude was dropping, Song Ning said. There are even some doubts that its target will be the slope under its feet. At the moment when the two were still confused, a huge BrahMos missile whizzed past the two of them. It could be seen that the missile was turning close to the ground, and it flew towards the concrete map machine fort at the end of the runway. Boom! With a loud bang, the two people on the soil slope didn't have time to lie down, and saw the number 1 fortress 500 meters away being blown to pieces. Song Ning didn't speak, he hurried forward. He knew that the two planes were still in the aircraft fort at the back, but he was not sure whether his personnel were injured or not. This was what he was most worried about now. Wave's attack would come at any time, but he didn't have time to consider the danger, so he checked the situation. Song Ning spent a few minutes running to the burning ruins. He slowed down slightly. Many people in the base were running around in front of him. The Pakistani fire truck had just arrived, and was about to move towards a plane that was burning obliquely and burning beyond recognition. A model of the plane sprayed water, and several people were taking people who could walk out of the nearby gravel pile. The Kalmar base was in chaos. The scorching hot air made Song Ning dare not come too close. He circled around for a long time before reaching a concrete machine fort at the back. The gate of the fort was open, and several Chinese soldiers were unmoved by the external explosion. Check the plane quickly. Is there anything wrong? Song Ning shouted. He found that the mechanic Zhou Qiuqing, who was climbing on the ladder, was still working hard and didn't respond. He was probably deafened by the explosion just now. The correspondent Xiang Xiaowai stumbled in from the outside. Boss, you're finally here. How's the situation? Are any of our personnel injured? Most of the personnel are here and are not injured. Only Zhao Lin was standing outside just now, and his leg was hit by shrapnel. He was just taken to the hospital by the Pakistani vehicle. I asked the translator Xiao Li to go with him, and there will be news at any time. How is his injury? I've seen it, it's not serious, but definitely can't fly. Damn, it's him, how can I divert the plane? Should I inform the country first? There's no time, the bombing from India will come at any time. Obviously, their target is these aircraft forts.